Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to be over on the American Pacemaker starting a project that I've been putting off for the last couple of years. And what I want to do is get the coolant sump cleaned up and rebuild that system so that I can have flood coolant whenever I'm using that machine. I have a big job coming up that's going to require a lot of drilling and boring also. And I really need to use flood coolant on this application. It would be the best case scenario instead of running dry or even mist. And we'll get into that in a little while and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get the coolant sumps cleaned out. Let me come over here and show you what we're talking about. So on our American Pacemaker, I've got the chip pan cleaned out, and you can see we've got some buckets of evaporust down here. And what I would like to do is get these coolant pans here, the screens, and the coolant sump cleaned out and free of all the rust. So you can see right there, that coolant sump, this is the original sump right here. This would have been where the pump was originally mounted on the machine. And this was long gone. It didn't come with any of this stuff whenever I purchased this lathe. Funny thing is that most of the time whenever you buy these old machines like this, for whatever reason, people always take the old pumps off. So I don't know why it was removed, but what we're gonna do, my plan is anyways, I'm just gonna put a little sump pump down in there and hopefully just be able to plug that in and come over here and feed our tool posts and whatever tool we're gonna be using whenever we're using the lathe. We'll get into that here in just a second and I'll explain that. So I've already gone in here, I've vacuumed all the chips out of these little pans and this sump here, and it's full of rust as you see. And I thought that the easiest way and probably one of the best ways to get all that rust cleaned out of there is to simply use our evaporust. So I've got 30 gallons of the evaporust. I got some more on the cart right there. I don't know how much I'm gonna need, but we've got plenty that I believe that we can fill this up and hopefully let the evaporust clean all of these sumps out. I'm not worried about the chip pan, by the way. We're only going to focus on this. All of the piping that's connected, there's actually a pipe going underneath the chip pan that's hard to see that connects these two pans here. You have a drain on the bottom that's plugged, and then this one up here connects to this pan, and then it comes across here. You can see this pipe. This is where the coolant's going to come into the sump there. So I'd like to fill all this up with our evaporust and let it sit for a couple days, however long it needs to. It probably only needs a couple of days worth of soaking. And then what we'll do is suck it all out using my sump shark, and I can go ahead and filter that as well because there's probably going to be some chips and stuff in there as well, but we can filter it using the sump shark, put it right back into these jugs, and I would like to pour this into my large evaporust tank that I have at home in my garage. I've shown that in the past, got a big tank, big IBC tank, and I've been wanting to add some more to that. So that's the other reason why we've got all this evaporust here. All right. I don't know if we're going to have any leaks here. We're going to find out once we start pouring it in there, but that's another benefit of having one of the sump sharks. Here's our other evaporust here. So we have the sump shark over there that you can use to suck up liquids, water, oil, anything you can use to suck that up. So I'm going to have it over here ready to go just in case the piping system on this is leaking and it starts running out everywhere. I can go ahead and just suck everything back up and then we can regroup if we need to there. So that's the plan. These are the screens right here that sit over these trays. You can see a lot of rust with these. So I'm going to take these guys home and actually just let them soak in the big evaporust tank there and get all the rust out of that, clean those really well. I will get in here first and make sure that there's no oil or grease in there. There's a little bit of cutting oil in there, so we'll use some degreaser and clean them out. And hopefully we're going to get this cleaned up and utilize our flood coolant system again. So I do have a pump. We'll show that later on. I need to get something. So this is where the block would have mounted originally from Pacemaker, that had a big pipe coming up right here that comes over onto your tool. All that's gone. All of it's been removed, just like it is on most of these old machines. So we've just got to kind of build up a simple little piping system that I can come over here and connect to the tool post. So here's the second part of this this project right here that we're going to be working on as well. So we've got our our size D1 Pee Wee Tools tool post there. I need to go ahead and get this indicated nice and square again, and I need to drill the T-nut down here, or the compound, to pin it in place. I believe it's a 12mm pin, and that is to provide, there's a couple reasons why they have those pins. One of the main benefits of having it pinned is so that it prevents it from rotating under extreme loads and high pressure. So I need to pin that so it doesn't try to rotate while we're using our tool to do our drilling. This is a sleeve that I got from Pee Wee Tools for the D1 size tools right here. So this one is the D1J 63180, and we've got our collet chuck in there now that we used the last time we were using that tool. But this will go in there and is a number 5 Morse taper. I've got a big spade drill that we're going to be using in this machine to hopefully do our drilling, and we'll talk about that later. But we need to get this pin, get it indicated and get it pinned in place so that we can use this. And I'd like to use our carriage here to power feed when we're doing this drilling. It's going to be a 3 1/4 inch hole that we're going to be drilling. I would love to use the power feed system to drill this hole. We're going to be going 8 inches deep, and I want to have some flood coolant set up on this drill. So we'll get to that later on. Let's go ahead and get to our tank cleaning and get our evaporust poured in there so we can start getting rid of all this rust down in that sump. All right, first we'll start off. We're going to use our heavy duty degreaser here to kind of get all the oil out, and I am going to go ahead and wipe the chip pan out there too as well. This will help remove all of the oil residue that's still down in here from all the cutting oil that's been used on the lathe past several years. That's looking pretty good. I can get my shop vac over here. There's a few more little chips in the bottom. We can get those sucked out of there, but that heavy duty degreaser does such a good job breaking down that oil where you can easily just wipe it up using a rag. That's looking good. And you can see you're just right up here on the chip pan too. That oil just makes it white right up. Use these oil soak rags here to kind of wet it down. I think I'll just end up wiping the whole chip pan like that and just get all the oil off of it and start fresh. Who knows how long it's been since that coolant pan has been that clean and dry. Looking good. All right, so I think this one's pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and get all this cleaned up here. Now that we're getting all the oil off, I think I just want to go ahead and get the whole chip pan clean. Might even wipe a little bit of this off back here too. Just do a little maintenance cleaning as we're going. But we'll move our way down to that second pan down there and get that cleaned out next. Work on getting some more of the chip pan here cleaned up, wiped off. And then we'll get down into the pan itself for the coolant. By the way, that hole right here, that one, that's just so you can access the leveling feet for the center column there on the lathe. So I've got a plate that goes right there. It's this guy. That'll get bolted down. Just get some kind of sealant there to seal it up good. We'll just do that later. Just about got this pan cleaned out. We just got to finish this little sump here and finish wiping this part, and the chip pan itself will be ready to go. Well, I've gone around the pacemaker and I've got it pretty well clean. The chip pan is nice and clean and dry. All of our coolant pans are good and clean. There's no more oil residue on any of it. All of our coolant trays around the end of the machine here are nice and dry now. I know it would be really great to put a coat of paint on this right here, but I don't have it in me. I don't have time to mess with it, so it's going to stay just like that. But everything's looking pretty good. I didn't really mess with the carriage here or anything, just kind of lightly wiped it off, but went ahead and wiped the top of the headstock off here, kind of cleaned it up. Cleaned up our coolant tray right there as well, but you can see got it nice and clean and dry. So we're going to go ahead and start the next phase here. Let me tell you what we're going to do next. So this chip pan, you might have seen this earlier, is actually, this part is cracked right here. You see it separated. And the way this pan is in there, it's kind of leaned down just a little bit. That's my only worry with the system, is that as we start using our flood coolant, you know, depending on where it drops, it's probably going to be filling up this region of the chip pan here before it starts overflowing into that. And I don't know why it leans down so much, and there's really not much I can do. You can wiggle it just a little bit, but short of just putting a jack underneath there and jacking it up, which is what I might do whenever I'm using the coolant system, there's really not much else I can do to that. It's sitting in there on the shelves just like it's supposed to, but this side, this is just down some. So I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, we need to get this welded up, so when I start filling this up and when we're using our flood coolant, it doesn't leak right here. So we'll pull the Miller welder around here, just use the MIG welder and get that welded up. As soon as that's done, I think we'll go ahead and start pouring in our vapor rust at that point. All right, we got the old Miller ready to go. I'll have to do a little bit of manipulating with it just because it's been up there. So we'll get this bottom area kind of tacked and welded, and I'll be able to knock this back and line it up a little bit more. But I plan on just kind of going from here all the way up to here and getting it welded back together. Give it a couple tacks and see if I got my heat range set good. It would actually help if you would apply the ground when you go to try to weld. It will definitely help. Let's try that again. Well, it seems to be welding just fine right there. Yeah, that's gonna work. I should be able to fill that in. Pretty good sized gap right there that I'm going to have to fill in. I could probably weld it from this other side there too. Let's go ahead and put a fillet right through there. There we go. It ain't pretty, but it's welded. And that should prevent any of the coolant from leaking out. Mainly it just right in this little spot right there, and it's welded good there. So I'll hit that with the wire brush just to clean it up, but it should be good. Okay, I think it's time to start adding our vapor rust. Remember, these are all connected. So I'm assuming that as long as there's no blockages in there, Once we fill this one up, this should start transferring to the next pan, and then from there down to the end. So I'm gonna start filling this one up, so hopefully it'll start draining through. I'm gonna be watching the bottom of the lathe to see if we have any leaks as we do that, okay? All right, let's see if it starts coming down to the other side. I have to put a little more in there. It could be might need some more to come through here. I hope that line ain't clogged up. I should have took the air hose and blew it through there. We'll go ahead and put some more in there. Get a little bit more. It's only about halfway up that pipe, so I think we need some more. Let's go ahead and put some more in there. All right, let's see what's happening. Oh, look, it's coming. It is working. There it is. There's the pipe. Should have got a light for you. So it's bypassing this one for right now. Oh yeah, it's in there. Okay, I think we're gonna be good there, as long as we don't have any leaks. Let me, we need to check the bottom there and make sure it's not leaking anywhere. I think it's working pretty good so far. All right, we've got another 5-gallon bucket opened up. Let's go ahead and pour it into this pan here and keep filling the sump up. I started seeing a leak there and I quickly figured out what it is. I believe they've got a weep hole drilled right there because it's coming out of that hole. So I think I've got it pretty well filled up. So I may have to do something different in order to completely fill up those 2 pans in the chip pan there. Maybe put a cap or something, cap it off just so I could fill that up. Those really aren't that big of a deal, but I did want to get them cleaned up. It was mainly this sump here that had all the rust in there that I wanted to try to get out. So I know we're going to be good there. So I'm going to get some pig mat over here to soak this up. But I think we've kind of reached our capacity there. So I've got 10 gallons in there. Oh, it looks like I got to, yep, we do have some leaks. Yep, there's some leaks right down there. That's a bummer. I was really hoping we were going to get lucky and not have any leaks there. So it looks like I'm going to have some patching to do. All right, so we're underneath we're on the front side of the machine, and I think I found the leaks. So there's one there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a pinhole that the liquid is coming out of there, and on that one there, you can see it dripping. There's an obvious pinhole right there that it's coming out of. I don't know if that is black iron pipe or if it's steel pipe, and I don't know if I can weld it up or not. The problem for me is that I'll have a hard time reaching underneath there. I might be able to reach back there, but if I pull you back, here you can see I just don't have a lot of room to work with, and I'm already a big guy as it is. I might have to give Joe a call and see if I can get him to squeeze underneath here with the MIG gun and see if we can stop those holes up right there. Man, just 2 pinholes. I'm going to keep working at it. I'll let you know what we come up with. I went ahead and bailed out a bunch of the evapor rust, just using this guy right here out of the sump, just try to minimize our leaking down there. And I've got our pig mat down there to catch up what's drained out. So I talked to Joe. He's already gone for the day. Unfortunately, he can't come look at it, but he brought up a good point. You know, he says if you go in there and try to weld on that, you could be opening up a can of worms and blow a bigger hole in it than what's already there. I can tell that it's 2 very small pinholes, maybe about an 1/8 inch diameter. I think in this case, it might be a good job for me to try to reach under there with a wire brush and clean that pipe where it's leaking through and try some JB weld, because all we're looking for is just to seal up those holes to eliminate that dripping underneath there. I never used JB Weld for anything, but I think this may be an application where it could save the day. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and you know, get things cleaned up, see if I can get under wire brush it, and I gotta find some JB Weld, so I'll have to go to the store and get some. So that's kind of a bummer. I really wanted to fill these guys up and really get rid of the rust, but the main thing is we gotta have a leak-proof system here. By the way, our weld, our ugly weld there is actually working. That dripping is from underneath here, but I've been feeling right here and there's absolutely no evapor rust on my glove right there. So our weld is sealed up. We'll just get the rest of this mopped up and get it cleaned up. So bring you guys back when we try to fix the pipe there for our leak. All right, I'm gonna see if I can reach back here with the air grinder. And yeah, I think I can clean up those two holes. So there's one there, and then it's still leaking out of that one. Let's see what we can do here. That's exactly what it's doing. I'm gonna try to not mess with the hole anymore, but let's see if we can get a little more of that surface rust off, because I'm hoping we can just patch this thing. It's gonna continue to leak down. That's as far as I can reach right there. So we got 3 pinholes in it right there. Obvious pinholes. All right, we'll see if we can get that side next. Oh yeah, man. I need to find a pan or something to get down there. It's not a lot, but it's enough that it's just gonna keep on dripping. All right, this is the best thing I could find right here. We got a aluminum baking pan. That'll work. All right. I'm gonna see if I can go ahead and get a little bit more cleaning action while I'm down here. Wow, this is making it worse. Joe was right about that. That was a good call. There ain't no way that would have welded. It just would have blowed it wide open. I'm gonna have to just wait till that stuff stops draining so I'm not blowing it everywhere with the air grinder. Just want to get a little bit of that surface rust off of there is all. So for our leaks in the pipe, this is the route that I decided to take. We're gonna give this stuff a try. I think it's gonna work because we've just got some pinholes and nothing's under pressure here. We're gonna try the JB Weld, old school method of repairing leaks and things like that. I really don't ever use this stuff, only a few times, but I think it's gonna work good for this application. So I'll use this and smooth some over where all the pinholes in the pipe are, and that should seal that up. I went ahead and picked up some of this stuff. You guys have probably seen all this Flex product on TV before. I've never used any of it either, but this is their Flex tape, and I thought what we could do is after this cures, go ahead, I'm gonna clean the pipe pretty good all the way around it, make sure there's no oil on it, dust or anything. And we're gonna go ahead and give it a wrap with this Flex tape. And my hopes is that that will help with the JB Weld, seal it up, and maybe if any other little tiny pinholes are there that I don't see that could form, maybe this will help seal that up. So we'll use that there. I also got the Flex paste because on one of the joints down near the very end of the pipe where it goes into the machine, you know, that sump, the threads there are leaking just slightly. It's dripping. So I got those threads cleaned off, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this Flex paste over that to help seal that up there as well. So hopefully that'll help eliminate that little drip that I'm getting on those pipe threads. And then this Ultra Black I'm gonna use. This is the pan that I've got to bolt down on the chip pan. This is the one you have to remove to get access to the adjustment on the feet. I've got everything cleaned really well. I've got the chip pan clean, and we'll try this RTV sealant here to get that sealed up. All right. Okay, I've been trying to get the pipe nice and clean. Got in here and wire brushed it well, using some degreaser there to kind of get it clean and wiped off. I can feel the pinhole is right there on the back side. All right, and the same thing down here, this area here. Pinhole's right about there. Been getting it brushed, degreased, wiped off. So I think this guy is ready for some patch. We'll put some JB Weld on it now. I can just barely reach back here. That's looking pretty good, I think. I'm trying to get this thing like slick down looking, but it's just hard to do with in the position that I'm in down here. I'm reaching back as far as I can. I think we got it though. I can't get it perfect. Every time I try to wipe it with the knife, it changes on me. I'm going to leave that one alone, and we're going to move over to the other side. It's not even covering up the hole. I'm going to have to blob some on there. I think that's got it right there. I'm gonna leave it alone. It looks like it's filled up. Oh man, yeah. Not a fun position to try to fix these pipes down here. You can see what I got to work with right here. That's about it. All right, so those have to, it says 4 to 6 hours to set. It takes, I think, 15, 16 hours for it to fully cure. So I think I'm just gonna let them sit, let them set. Probably need to let them cure before we put the flex tape over them. So I'm gonna give it a little time. We'll go ahead and migrate to the top and get our hole, get that hole over there sealed up. All right, here's our cover plate. We're gonna bolt down right there. I want to make sure it goes on the same way that it came off, just in case the hole pattern is not like a symmetric bolt pattern. Okay, let's go for it. I feel pretty good about the bead of sealant I got on there. Not very pretty, but I think we got her done. Everything's good and clean. I am going in with stainless steel round-headed bolts there. These are quarter 20s. Well, I think I am. There we go. So what we're going to do with these are just run them down until they're just snug. We don't want to torque it yet. Just kind of bring them down until they're just snug, and then we'll give it like an hour or so and let the sealant kind of start setting, and then we can come back and torque them down. All right, I think that'll do it right there. Just got them just snugged up, not torqued down yet. We'll let it set and then we'll tighten it up, and hopefully that'll seal it up good from our coolant that's going to be down here in this chip pan. All right, so I thought I'd show you guys this. This is the pipe joint right here that I saw dripping just ever so lightly, dripping there. So I've got it cleaned as best I can using a wire brush. We've got it degreased well, and then this is the one where I'm going to take this this paste right here, this flex paste. I'm going to try to just build up a nice little bead or fill it in all the way around these threads here, with hopes that that will seal up that little bit of drip. All right, well there's my joint using the flex paste. I tried to slick it down as much as I could. That stuff's just really tricky to get it to lay down without sticking to your finger or your putty knife or whatever you're using. So I tried to just try to make sure it was pushed down into that joint good, and then just kind of slick it over on the top. So I'm hoping that solves the leak problem right there. We'll let you know how it goes. Okay, it's been about an hour and 20 minutes since we set our plate down. I can tell the sealant's starting to firm up there, so we're going to go ahead and tighten them down. That one feels like it may be stripping, so I'm going to not tighten that one anymore. I didn't feel it getting tight, unless there's just a gap there. Yeah, I think the whole strip. I'm not gonna tighten on that one anymore. I'll just have to monitor this. If I need to run a bead of the sealant along that edge there, I can do that too. Shouldn't be any problem. I plan on putting some pans underneath the machine here to catch any possible drips that might happen. But hopefully this is going to be good and sealed up. So I still got a little while waiting on our JB weld to cure. This has got to cure too. But I wanted to go ahead and point out the sumps here. We still got some of the evaporust in the bottom. That's really all we needed down in there. But I still would like to clean it out further. But it's doing a good job. There wasn't a whole lot of rust in these two sumps, but it's done its job getting the rust out of the bottom of that. And then if we move over here to the main sump, that's where all the crust was, and you can certainly see, you might be able to see that, how it's really turned that rust. So it's doing its job. You can see it's getting darker in there too. That's a sign that it's converting the rust. So what I'm probably going to do is go ahead, I'd like to, this isn't really that deep. I think I'd like to go ahead and suck this out. Go ahead and get the liquid out, because I want to make sure that we got our leaks fixed. But instead of going in there with our evaporust and risk leaking it out again and wasting some of it, I think I'm just going to use water next time. We'll fill it up with water and see if that fixes the leaks, and I can easily suck that out, and then we can fill it up with our coolant after that. But I'll probably go ahead and just get in there and kind of hand manipulate that bottom there to kind of break all that old rust and corrosion up out of there, and see if we can get it all sucked out, get it nice and clean. We have both of the leaky areas there with the JB weld. We let that cure, and then I wrapped it up with the flex tape, and that's been sealed up there for a day now, so hopefully that's good and cured. We've got our sump shark ready to go, so we're going to go ahead and start getting the rest of this evaporust out of here. This area right here had quite a bit of corrosion in the chip pan too. What I did the other day was I took this pig mat. This is the pig mat that has the poly backing on it. I went ahead and soaked it, laid it down here, and I'm going to see if that actually removed the rust. This is a good trick for removing surface rust if you can't actually soak your parts down into it. Is soak a rag, a towel, anything, and lay it on there, but you have to cover it up to keep it from evaporating while it's doing its magic. So I think this poly back pig mat might work pretty good. Let's find out. You can see it right here. It was trying to get some of it up there. it got some of it. Some of this right here is kind of turned dark, but I didn't push down hard enough, so it didn't get that right there too well. Well, it got it some. Not a big deal, but that's a pretty good trick right there, soaking a towel. I think this poly back pig mat might work pretty good for cases like this here. This is just a chip pan, so no big deal. Once we get back to making chips on the machine, this is going to be covered up, and as you scoop these chips out, it just kind of gets rid of this discoloration down here in the pan. We got our sump shark ready to go to suck the evaporust out. I put the fine filter in there, so this should catch all the trash that it sucks out of the sump, and it'll separate it so we can pump it right back into a bucket and reuse it. I'll also point out that I did rinse this out before we brought it over here. It had a little bit of coolant residue, so we drained it into a bucket, rinsed it, and I just used some of this degreaser here to wash the inside out. And so we're not contaminating the evaporust with oils or flood coolant. Let's go ahead and fire it up. So I'm just going to keep working this guy and try to get as much of the junk out of here as I can with the sump shark, and then I'll reach in there like I did before with our pig mats and kind of wipe it out clean. Seems like it did pretty good in that sump down there. Looks way better than it did before we started here. All right, we got her pretty well dried out, cleaned up. Reached in there with our rags, tried to wipe it out as much as we could. Some of that red that you might be seeing right there, that's actually the primer that was painted on it from the factory. That's not rust down there. So I think it's time to just go ahead and fill it back up with water and see if we have any more leaks. All right, we've had the water in there about 10 minutes or so. I'm inspecting. I don't see any drips, which is a good sign. I've got to check that one joint further back that we used the paste on, but when I first looked at it, I didn't see any drips. So I hope we're sealed up good. And if so, we can start sucking the water back out of there. All right, we got our sump shark configured to discharge mode and use this ball valve here to discharge it. You have to be very careful with this and just barely crack it and feather that, because it'll blow out of there and make a huge mess if you're not careful. So we're just going to try to get the bulk of it out as easy as we can without making a huge mess here, hopefully. Yeah, see what I'm talking about? It'll make a mess really quick. So once it gets down to that last little bit in the bottom of the tank there, it does this right here. And you have a drain on the end where it's easier just to open the drain up and just let gravity let that last little bit drain out of there. And then you can take a water hose and just rinse it out. That looks like it got most of it though. I don't think we're gonna fuss with the rest of it. So close her up and turn it off. All right, we'll go ahead and get the water back out of here. All right, next phase of the cleanup here is I actually want to clean out the sump shark. So I have this filter system that I got from New Pig for doing this clean out right here. Whenever I want to clean the sump shark and I want to get all the oily residue, like if we're doing a really dirty sump and I want to get all that contaminants out and we want to hose it out and clean it out, this filter system right here is what we're going to be using to kind of separate the oil and the trash from the water. So it consists of this drum right here, and you can see oily water drum filter, and what it has is these pillow filters inside here. I believe there's 5 of them total, and they're just stacked down in there, and the water is going to drain into this media here is going to collect any of the oil or residue. It's just going to drain right out of that bottom there out. So we're also going to include this carbon filter right here. So I'm going to pull one of these guys out, put that on top. So we've got an additional carbon filter on top. And then these guys right here, the oil absorbent filter mats, are going to sit right on the ground. So I'm going to pull one of these out and set that down right there where that drain is. So you've got all of these filters right here, filtering the oily water, and then one last filter right there. And we should have clean water draining out after that. So that's the plan, and we'll go ahead and we'll drain it out, and then I want to actually hose it out real good and kind of rinse it out really well and let it drain right into that. Okay, we've got all of our filters set up. Let's go ahead and crack this thing loose and let it start draining. Here's our filter bag here, so you can see it caught all the trash that was down in the sump, chips and dust and dirt and all that kind of stuff. So we can just take this out here. All right, and then this basket comes out, and then we can get in there and hose this out. Got a little degreaser sprayed in there soaking, so we're just going to rinse it out and this should be good to go. All right, it's all cleaned out now. Just reach in here and just try to get a little bit of the rest of that residue. And we'll go ahead and put the cap back on it. And this should be just about done.
Come on, cooperate with me.
Got that rubber gasket there to keep that from leaking. That should be good to go. Sump short worked really great for that. I went ahead and pulled that other filter out since I kind of got it dirty and contaminated a little bit. And we just went back in with this guy here. This is the burlap. Just good for coarse chips and things like that when you're cleaning out a really nasty, dirty sump. There's another filter up here. This guy there, it's a little bit more fine. You can use that guy there as well. But excellent machine. Highly recommended to invest in something like this if you have a bunch of machines with some coolant sumps that you need to clean out. But you can see it's certainly handy for a lot of things, cleaning out, sucking up water. If you have spills, I had a spill here one day by the hide mech, and I used it to clean all this up. But really great for oil spills too. If you have a hydraulic shop, I worked in a hydraulic shop and we had oil spills all the time, and it would have been really nice having something like this to suck all that oil up off the floor. So anyway, this did a great job. So back onto the American Pacemaker. We're just about finished, and we can go ahead and start filling up our flood coolant sump. All right, we got everything cleaned up and put away. We're ready to go ahead and fill up our coolant sumps here with brand new fresh coolant. So we've got them all dried out. We dried out the chip pan here, and I reached down in there with some more pig mats in the main sump and tried to wipe that out as much as I could. There's going to be a little bit of trash and residue still down in there, but that's just normal with any sump. You can only reach so far in there and get that cleaned out so much. I think I did a pretty good job. So I've got my hose down here. This is my coolant mixing station here on the wall. It comes in from, we got tap water that comes in, and then it mixes it right here. I've got it set where it needs to be for brand new coolant. This is the coolant that we're running, the Trim Microsol 685. This is what's going in all the machines. Up top, I've got my hose reel from Realcraft that it takes the water, mixes it, brings it right on through there so we can pull this hose anywhere in the shop we want. So I think we're ready to go ahead and start adding some coolant. We come right up here on this ball valve, turn that on. I've already got this one on here, and you can see pre-mixed coolant. I'll do some checking with this to make sure that we have our proper ratio that we want mixed in. Now that we got some in the sump and the other pan there, we'll go ahead and start filling this up, because this is going to go down and transfer to it and eventually fill it up to the proper level. And I did want to point out that I found out when we first started filling it up, they drilled a weep hole right here. So this is actually the top level. So I'm going to bring it up just below that is my plan. All right, just about filled to capacity there, just below the weep hole. So we should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and keep monitoring it, make sure we don't have any leaks underneath there. But I think we're just about done with this. Let's get a reading of our coolant. So we're looking for about an 8 on our bricks reading. We're at a 7.5, so I'm not far off right there. I think that's going to be fine just where it's at. All right, well, man, I'm real happy to see this. I need to do another inspection underneath it, make sure we don't have any drips, but I think we're ready to go. The screens are still soaking in the evapor rust, and I'm going to pull those out pretty soon and we'll get those installed. But as far as this goes, it's pretty much done. So our next step is to get the little coolant pump. I've got a little giant. I'll pull that out and show you. My plan is to just set it down in this hole right here, and bring a hose up. Probably need to machine some kind of little block or something that's missing that was right here. I'd like to bring, I don't know, maybe a pipe or something right here that I can bring the hose up to, and have a pipe with a ball valve up here so that we can go from here over to our drill, or set it up for coolant for turning and things like that. This is going to be our new coolant pump for the American Pacemaker, made by Little Giant. And I bought this from KBC Tools. This is one that they had in stock, so just ordered it from them. And it should fit down inside that rectangular opening. My plan was to take this pump here. This is the first time I'm actually looking at it right here. Let's see. I've used these before, where they've been in some machines that I've run before. I believe it's the same one we had in our old dual bandsaw. So it's got a screen right there. Should be able to snap that on just like that. Well, that'll snap on, and we should be able to just set that right down into the coolant, and it should be at a level where it can suck the coolant out, I hope. And for now, we're just going to take this cord and just go plug it in. There's a receptacle over there by the lathe, and I'll just plug it in whenever we're using it. I'd like to figure out some kind of switch at some point that maybe I can wire in and have it a little more convenient to be able to just switch it on and off. But for now, we'll just plug it in. And it takes 1/4 inch MPT. So I've got to figure out some fittings, some different pieces of pipe and things like that, just to kind of get a new system plumbed over to get to over our tool post. So that's what we're going to be working on next here. All right, so here's our new Little Giant coolant pump or sump pump. And this, I bought this one here because of the configuration, and you can see that it just fits down inside this opening. So it should sit down in there. Hopefully we've got enough coolant level for it to continue to siphon even when we're using coolant. My backup plan for that is if it starts, cavitating because it's running out of coolant because it's in use, we might be able to just plug this hole here and fill up this tank a little bit more, the sump, just fill it up a little bit more if we need to. So we'll just, figure that out as we go. But we need to get some pipe connections, some hose, some pipe nipples, things like that, to come from here over here. I'm probably going to make some kind of block that'll bolt on here that was originally on here to hold a pipe nipple. We want to come up with a ball valve, so as I'm standing on that side, you can open and close the ball valve for the coolant as needed. And then from here, we'll come over here and have a connection where we can hook into our spade drill that's going to be mounted here on the tool post. So that's what we're going to be working on here. So by the way, here's another one of the original coolant pipes. This is what was hooked in. The original pump mounted there, and they somehow was hooked into this pipe, which fed the coolant through up this pipe and down. And then there was a connection here, most likely some kind of rubber hose, some kind of industrial hose that would have connected to this joint here. And that's the flexible connection, and you could, it would move up and down as the carriage traveled. We're not going to be using this. This is probably still good, so maybe at some point we can come back to this and revisit it, and maybe see about connecting this into this pipe and doing the same thing and have an outlet right there that goes from here up. But I want to try to move forward and get this system operating as quickly as I can, because we have a big job to do in the lathe, and that's why I'm just trying to get this working so that we can come over here and do our job, use our new spade drill, and have flood coolant while we're doing that. So that's going to be, I'm sure that's going to be the next video here. So I'm going to start working on that, getting our parts and pieces configured, get them coming. We got to get something made for this, and then we've still got to work on our tool post, get it pinned in place, and then make sure we have a good connection over here to our new spade drill that we're going to be running. All right, so we'll bring you guys back on the next phase of the build here for our freshened up coolant system for the American Pacemaker.